We don't have time to sit and wonder, oh, why? Is he being a little bit harsh or not harsh enough? It doesn't matter. They bombed all of your hospitals. They killed all of your mothers. All of your children are gone. Wake up, pick up a flag, and hit the streets. Stand for something.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time zone you're living in, it's time for Sumud. All about humanity, so this right here for everyone. Uplift, amplify, empower everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time zone you're living in, it's time for Sumud.
On this episode of the Sumud Podcast, we uplift, empower, and amplify Saiaf Abdallah, aka Resistance is Beautiful. Saiaf is a Palestinian-American activist and the force behind Resistance is Beautiful. Known for his unapologetic stance, viral confrontations, and commitment to justice, he fearlessly challenges oppression, inspiring resilience and conviction, despite arrests, blacklisting, and threats. I'm your host, Ed Hasan. Visit sumudpod.com to subscribe and connect with us on social media. Welcome, Saiaf.
Nice to see you. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you coming on. I know you're usually busy wreaking havoc and going against all these Zionists out there, so I appreciate you taking time out and putting down the Superman cape, if you will, for a little bit.
I appreciate that. I'm humbled. I don't deserve that, but thank you.
So one thing that everybody has consistently asked me is, who is this guy? Who is Resistance is Beautiful? What's his story? What's his background? Would you mind sharing that a little bit with us?
Yeah, sure. My grandparents were kicked out of Palestine in 1948 on both sides, my mother's side and my father's side. My father's been in the U.S. since the 70s. He met my mother in Amman, Jordan, and they got married. I was born in Amman. I was only there for 9 months, and then they went to New York, my parents, in the 80s. And so it was really violent in the late 80s, early 90s. So my mother actually wanted to go back to Jordan. So my father tells her, well, there's this place called Arizona, and it's very much like the Middle East. So that's actually how I ended up here in Arizona since I was 3. I had a very interesting childhood. I was extremely, I would say, I think, creative. There came a point where I learned that movies and films are actually made by people, and that blew me away. I was watching a Disney movie called Under Wraps all the time, every weekend. And one weekend, they said, come with us behind the scenes to see how this movie is made. And my world lit up. I said, made? Like people make movies? I thought they were just created. I was young, you know? My infatuation and obsession with film grew at that point. And I began making my own movies with toilet paper rolls. So I would remove all the toilet paper and I would film with toilet paper rolls with people in the neighborhood. I grew up in a very diverse neighborhood in Phoenix, apartment. And it's considered now very low income, very like dangerous. It's all gated up and stuff. Back then, it was the most beautiful place in the world. You know, when you're a child, the doors were open. You can enter anywhere and do what you want. And my parents gave me a lot of freedom. I used to actually wake up by myself at the age of 7 and walk myself to school and get ready by myself and everything without my parents having to wake me up.
At 7 years old? Wow.
My mother always tells that story. So there was always this sort of independence and freedom and love given to me by my parents to be able to exercise my creativity, stay out late till like even at a young age, 7, 8 years old, we'd stay out till 11 p.m. playing marbles, playing Sega Genesis. And I just was always around people. And I started to really love people as I got older. I ended up studying film and opened up like a media business. I ended up selling that. And later, while I was doing that, I decided to actually go into healthcare. I started off as a director of operations and slowly worked my way up until I became a CEO in healthcare.
So I just want to make it very clear to our audience, the way it's been phrased is you're CEO by day, activist by night.
I guess that works. I don't know if you know, but recently I've launched a business called Mentorship is Beautiful, where I am a mentor.
Yep.
Yeah, there has been a shift recently in the past, I would say 6 months or so.
Yeah. So talk about growing up Palestinian. I always ask, when did you realize you were a Palestinian? But obviously, based on your story, you knew pretty quickly. But when did you realize that this is a struggle that we all have to face and sort of fight for?
It was almost from a depressive lens. Like, you know, we were always getting bombed and killed, whether it was the Iraqis or the Palestinians or the Afghans. It was so depressing all the time. Sometimes when I see F-16s flying, I'm like, they're flying because they're going to bomb our people. They're practicing right now to bomb our people. They're not going to bomb Denmark.
Yeah.
And it was always a very depressing lens that I saw it through. I remember at a young age going to these little conferences, 20 people show up about Palestine. It's like just little projector or whatever.
Yeah.
They talk about Zionism. And I was young. I was like 19. I'm like, I get it. I get it how they infiltrated the churches. But how are we going to tell everyone else? Zionism. Nobody in the world knows what that word is. That's when I was 19. I'm like, the only time I've ever heard this word mentioned, ever, was just in these 20 people circles of Palestinians.
Yeah.
So it's depressing. Year after year after year, you visit Palestinian homes and they tell you how they were kicked out and they wanted to go and visit and they were mistreated and they hang their keys on the walls. They wish that they could return home someday. That was the world that I've always lived in, right? So Norman Finkelstein said something very powerful. He's like, I hate to say this, but I gave up hope on Gaza. That's what Norman Finkelstein said, I think, in the last 2 years.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, they're in a concentration camp being killed and bombed. Like, they have nothing. So what really, outside of my faith in Allah, all of these Arab nations that are Zionists were just totally normalizing with Israel. As a Palestinian, it's always been like this sort of, we're so proud and we love Palestine and we're doing what we can, but my God, all the odds were against us. That's how it felt always until October 7th.
Yeah. Well, even before October 7th, you were a huge activist, I think, at Arizona State University, right? I think you're a part of SJP and you did some of their film and media or the recordings, I believe.
That's true. Yeah. Wow. That's good research.
Oh, we can go pretty deep here.
Pretty good. Yeah. Actually, we would do something interesting. We would talk often about BDS at the time. It got really popular at ASU in Arizona at the time. When I went there, I was studying film originally. We would kind of take that and then try to do like a lot of things that were really creative. I'll give you an example. We built the wall, the apartheid wall that's around Gaza. We would build it on campus 40 feet wide, and it was pretty high, and we'd have all of this information. And so I came up with this idea at the time that we dress as Israeli soldiers and we start stopping people and asking them if they're Palestinian. So from the beginning, my activism was very much like off the cuff. So something that happened, there was a guy in a military uniform that saw us stopping a woman and asking her if she's Palestinian. And we like told her to get on the ground. We're going to check her and whatever. This guy from the military is like walking on campus and he goes, "What's going on here?" We pulled him into that world, that reality. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So we told him, be quiet. She's Palestinian. We think she's Palestinian and we're going to check and we're going to investigate. And you can be on your way because you don't look like you're Palestinian. And that infuriated him. And so we would keep doing that over and over and over and over again. You pull people into that world. So yeah, that's what we did at ASU. A lot of events, documentaries. But again, it was small, very small.
But it was resistance. It's a form of resistance.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
Yeah. So question for you, that guy who really got upset and asked what was going on, do you think he would react the same today? Because there are many people who would jump in and say, yeah, good point. That's Palestinian. Let me take them down with you.
People are more apathetic nowadays. Americans especially are very apathetic. They don't care.
Yeah.
They know what's happening. They don't care. They know that their politicians signed the bombs that are dropped on our people. My opinion on America, and we could talk about this later, has changed significantly. There's no hope that these people will wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you graduated, did you think you were going to go into film or is it one of those things, well, this was sort of my hobby, but I don't know if I can actually do this for a living?
So I had a genuine love for it, but I knew that a business would have to be created in order for it to be successful. Like I understood that you can't just get into Hollywood kind of a thing. It's only through connections. And a lot of my professors are like either writers or directors or producers in Hollywood TV or film. So I was very much aware that you don't just walk in and kind of, it's not like an accounting firm.
I don't know. I don't know about you though. I don't know. You got a different energy. I would say it'd be a little bit different with you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I kind of went in with this idea of I want to start a business. So I took what I knew there and I started a business and it took off. It did really well.
Yeah. Talk about your father a little bit. Obviously, your father is mentioned on Canary Mission, which I want to get into later. I want to ask if they actually sent you an award or not, but we'll talk about it later. Talk about your father and a little bit of that experience that he went
Yeah.
through when you were
Sure.
growing up.
Honestly, in regards to Canary Mission really quick, it was actually very offensive to me that they didn't put me on there earlier and sooner. And it's one of my highest honors. I've actually been really trying to get on there for a long time. As a matter of fact, on my mentorshipisbeautiful.com website, I put featured in Canary Mission. It's one of my favorite awards that I've ever received. So I just want to throw that out there. You're saying my father's on there too.
I think they mentioned your father, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, well,
I
I'm
could
gonna
be
have to
wrong.
I'm gonna have to get him some dessert to celebrate tonight.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So yeah, a little bit about my father. My father is a hero of mine, and I think the best way to describe him is he has this sort of wisdom to him where he can be really funny and fun, but also he's a powerhouse. He can educate you, whether it's about politics or religion, and then again, fun and joking. He's someone that you could just talk to for hours, and everyone knows him and he knows everyone. He's that type of person. So, if you say, "Oh, do you know Abu Saiaf?" Everyone will be like, "Yeah, of course we know Abu Saiaf." They always say that. And so growing up, I knew that he was a powerhouse in that way. And I remember at a young age, I was so intrigued by how he spoke to people. I was really young at the time, maybe 8, 9. I'd be like, I wonder what they're talking about. I want to be able to speak like that someday. If I saw him in the living room talking to his friends, I was fascinated. He's very, very charismatic. He's very patient. And I really got to know my father's worth when the pressure was on. One day, I believe I was filming with a friend and I got a phone call that the FBI was at our house. I believe I was 18, 19, maybe. I got a phone call that the FBI is at our house and I need to come down immediately. Rush to the house. The entire neighborhood was jam-packed with FBI agents and unmarked vehicles and police. It was insane. Of course, they let me walk in. I walk into the house. And to the right, when you walk in, is our living room, our family room. You walk in and my mom and dad are sitting there. I think my siblings were there. So the FBI is just, like bed bugs all over the house. I come in and I say, "Oh, what's going on?" That strength is still developing. It's not fully there. There's a little bit of that shakiness. It's not fully there like what I have now, but I was a little bit scared. And like, "Oh, come and sit down. It's okay. Everything is okay. The FBI is just going through everything in the house." And you see them taking all of our computers, all the stuff. I don't know if you've ever seen The Sopranos, but it's exactly like that in The Sopranos, where they come in, "Hey, don't touch that. Hey, my computer, my homework," the whole thing. So they're taking everything, and the story starts to unravel for me, to keep it short for you, that essentially the FBI, what they wanted from my father was they wanted him to testify against the Holy Land Foundation, the Holy Land Five. My father would say, "I don't know who they are." They said, "Okay, you're lying or you're covering for them. You're going to go to jail for lying to the FBI." So I actually did get a chance to speak in front of the judge before my father's sentencing. We decided to accept, I think, 2 years for him to go to prison. We decided to accept this instead of going to trial. Our lawyer said specifically, if you go to trial, the FBI is going to mention Osama bin Laden, Saddam Hussein, and your father's gone for God knows how long. So I looked at my dad. We were in a room. I said, "Dad, let's take the deal." There was a ton of people in the courtroom, but we went privately to speak with a lawyer. He said, "Okay, deal. Okay, we're going to take it." And so we took that deal at the time. My sister told my father at the kitchen table when we were reading, imagine me, my sister, my father, my brother, chandelier hanging, glass table, reading everything they have on my father, all the times they were spying on me and my family, following us to school, everything, because you have to get all the evidence that the other side, the prosecution has. So you look at when they follow us to the coffee shop, to the private school, they going through our trash, everything listed. Man, you think about that and you're like, who are these people? What country is this? And so my sister tells my father, "Dad, if they chop you up, even if they chop you up, don't turn on the Palestinian. Don't give up any names." My sister, she's like, am I allowed to use French language here?
Yeah, please. Absolutely.
She's a fucking soldier. And so it really elevated my family in the sense of strength. And you know what? We're going to take this even more seriously. We're going to double down. And it made me love and respect my father even more. And so, yeah.
So what was the experience? He actually ended up being in prison, correct?
Yep.
How many years was he in prison?
I think about what you do 2 years, but then if you have good behavior, you'll get like a few months off. Then you do that, what halfway house is.
Yeah.
And before prison, he would have the ankle bracelet. So he'd have to be home at a certain time and whatever. One time he was praying and the officer called him. You have to answer the phone when they call you. So the officer called him. He didn't answer. And so the officer asked him, why didn't you answer? He said, I was praying. He's like, why didn't you leave the prayer to answer the phone? My father said, if a nuclear bomb were to go off, I would not leave the prayer no matter what. I was like, you see, these are things that they stick with you, you know? My father used to say, like, behind you, Sumud, right? My father used to say about when he was in jail, when we would talk to him on the phone or see him, that his Sumud was like the mountains, that he's unshakable. He's like, I cannot be shaken, so don't worry over me. That's what my father used to say.
Yeah. Wow, that's powerful. That is power. So that explains so much, man.
And of course, my mother, with the same courage and support, she lets me fly and supports me, and very, very educated on the topic.
Yeah. How did you handle the criticism of your family? Because at 18, 19, young age, people, especially in Arizona, they got to be looking at you like something's wrong, obviously. How did you handle that?
I'm impressed with your questions. I'm not going to lie, because they are actually making me realize a lot of who I am now and why my behaviors are the way that they are, your questions. So, you know, you get support from the community, right? But then there are things that are said that stick with you forever. You start learning that there are rumors going on about you and your family. One of the rumors, do you know the ADT sensor, the security sensor that's usually in a house for movement? Because it flashes red, apparently a rumor started spreading that our house was bugged and that we bugged our own home because of that sensor, right? One rumor that we came to find out was that my father worked for the FBI, was a rumor that was going on for 10 years until he got arrested. Then a lot of them started saying, oh my God. So they mistook his courage and his confidence as him being a spy or a rat. When he got arrested, they were like, oh my God, Abu Saiaf is not with the FBI. He was genuine all along. A lot of that starts to come out. And so a lot of what you see me do is I am sort of fighting against those old rumors and almost breaking them. Because back then they were cowards. So now I step into it and I say, yeah, I'm getting arrested. Now what? What are you going to say? The behaviors you see in me are part of that fabric of how I experienced all of that. So I hope that makes sense.
No, it does. It does. So what's interesting, though, around that time, I'm assuming, okay, so first they thought that he was some sort of spy for the FBI, which is absolutely crazy. But when they found out that he wasn't, did the community support you and your family, or were they a little bit, they did? Okay, so they weren't scared.
Some were scared, some cut us off, even family members that would just kind of, you know, distance themselves. I mean, cowards, man, cowards. The amount of, and I'm learning this now too, the amount of like real men, you can count them on a few hands. You know, yeah. This cowardice is so easy to come by.
Yeah.
So easy to come by. Yeah, people were very afraid to call, to text, to message, whatever. And so something that I learned from an early time doing this is like, I'm doing this. I know what I want, which is Palestinian liberation. And I couldn't give two shits what anyone feels or thinks. Because if I rely on other people, I know they will coward out and they'll back away. Do you understand? Yeah. So I don't look for them for their approval or how they feel about something. I make my decision and I move forward with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah, no, that's right on. We did have Neda Abu Bakr on, the daughter of Shukri Abu Bakr. I don't know if you still have a relationship with them at all, but we had them on the podcast as well.
Amazing.
Very sad story, and hopefully he gets released soon.
Amazing. They're a heroic family, truly.
Yeah. So you're 18, 19. This happens with your father. I'm guessing you just graduated high school, or you were still in high school?
Right. I'm not good with the dates. I don't remember, but possibly, yeah.
Okay. Was that sort of a moment for you that said, you know what, I got to do something here. I'm going to change the world, or I'm going to fight for Palestine, or whatever it may be?
No. I knew that I would be involved in some sort of activism and going to fundraisers and whatever. And I remember even seeing George Galloway at a fundraiser for Gaza, and actually sitting with George Galloway at a coffee shop and talking to him. And people were like, hey, his father went to jail for Palestine. And George Galloway and I talked about that. And he talked about praying for my father. So I was still involved in some things here and there, but it was still a very depressive lens. Do you see what I mean? Right now, I feel like we're going to triumph over this enemy. No doubt in my mind. Back then, I did not have what I'm telling you now.
Yeah. October 7th woke up many people, including myself. The way I envision you was you're doing your career thing, your activism slowed down, maybe just slightly. And then all of a sudden, October 7th happened. Palestine starts ringing. It's time. Our grandparents have been calling us. It's time. Is that accurate?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. October 7th happened. And then that's it. Everything, all the gauges, it's just that pressure. I got arrested and then I got the trespassing notice that you can't go to ASU for 1 or 2 years or whatever. And I told the officer that it's a badge of honor. And then he's like, what? That was like the first video.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean? I was like, it's a badge of honor. And he's African-American. So I told him like Malcolm X, Nelson Mandela.
Yeah. You're
familiar with them? And he's like, like looking at me kind of like, oh crap, this guy is, I know he was thinking, this guy's right. So it's a badge of honor, so. Then yeah, it stuck, and that's it. I was like, that's it. This is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. So other than your father and your mother and your sister, I'm gonna say, who's been your greatest influence?
I'm very inspired by, I would say. I think he's a hero.
Yeah. So the podcast is definitely gonna get shut down after this, so it's all good. Keep going.
That's the thing, right? In the empire of lies, truth is treason.
Yeah.
You have freedom of speech only if you can say what the Jewish supremacists want you to say. So you can make any movie in Hollywood as long as it's approved by the Jewish supremacists. You can be a politician so long as it's approved by the Jewish supremacists, right? How AIPAC is. And of course, now this is the truth. In the empire of lies, truth is treason. I can talk about it so easily because it's the truth. When something is the truth, you don't need to stumble upon your words. It comes out easily. It's the truth. Yeah. But in the empire of lies, truth is treason. So yeah, I would say is definitely a huge inspiration.
Speaking of ASU, you said you got banned or kicked off of campus. I mean, did they give you your tuition back for all those years you did pay? Any refunds or anything?
No, nothing like that.
Nothing at all, huh?
No, nothing.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go back. Once that expires, I'm going to be back at ASU.
When does it expire? Is it 2 years, you said? Or
I think either 1 or 2 years. I got to double check because I've gotten so many now from different places. So I'm going to have to check. And then once it expires, I'll hit the campus back again.
Gotcha. Well, let me know when that happens. I'll come out. And
I appreciate that. I appreciate
How many times have you been arrested at this point? First of all, before you answer that, were you arrested at all today?
Not today. No. But I have been arrested a lot and detained a lot too. So I've lost count in between both. But even I'll tell you a funny story. The last time when I got arrested, Lifetime Fitness. So they put you in kind of like a solitary confinement room, 6 foot by 7 foot, right? It's like you're just there, no food, no water. There's just a toilet and you sleep on your shoes. There's nothing else. Yeah. And there's a light bulb. You can't see the outside world. It's all concrete. So, it's just 24 hours. It's an honor to be there. I pray and I think of the Palestinians that are taken hostage by the Jewish supremacists. I'm laying there and the 24 hours passes up. They knock on the door. So I stand up. And 4 officers open the concrete door. And I look, and the officer goes, "You again?" For me, I was like, it makes me, I smile so much, like thinking about that moment. What an honor, as if I was at the supermarket.
Yeah.
So yeah, usually I'm so calm when I am arrested that I actually do something. I sit, they usually bring you in and they tie you, they put the cuffs onto a water pipe in the wall before you go to your jail cell. If you've seen that video where I'm recording myself in cuffs, I'm in the holding area before the jail cell.
Gotcha.
So the officer let me use my phone. That's what happened.
Okay.
So I can text or call whoever I want. He doesn't care. He's filling out paperwork, then he'll put me in the cell. So I'm sitting there, and what I did is I take my left hand. I do this every time. I take my left hand and I go like this because I want to see if it's shaking, and it doesn't shake. See what I'm saying? Yeah. When I'm in cuffs and I'm sitting there and all the cops are walking around with their guns and their Israeli behavior, it doesn't shake. That's gone.
Yeah.
And I was talking to you earlier about that. I'd never used to have that. Now it's completely gone. So do you see how I am with you now? This is how I am with the cops and in the jail cell, whatever. And I learned this from, if you're familiar with Greek philosophy, that true freedom is that you can go to sleep in a jail cell and you could think that you're on the beach.
Oh, wow.
Your jail cell is in here. So when I was sleeping on my shoes, I was like, oh, I'm on the beach. And I started smiling in the jail cell.
Oh. Did they ask what you're smiling at? Or
I'm alone. Oh, yeah. Yeah, but they treat me well, I mean, kind of, I guess. Because, I listen, I comply. But yeah, there's no fear at all anymore. It's happened so much.
Has any of the officers said, hey, sorry, we have to arrest you, but we're with you. We support you. Any
They
apologies?
don't say that, but they say we understand. So there's one, if you remember, where I pepper sprayed a guy.
Yep.
Okay. I got arrested. The officer, he's an African American. He goes, "What's wrong with you?" Because he saw that I carry a gun on my ankle and I have pepper spray on me. When they saw the gun on my ankle, they kind of went crazy. "What? I thought you were peaceful." He starts telling me, "What are you doing?" So I said, "This guy attacked me and I defended myself with pepper spray. And you are angry that I can defend myself?" So does this make sense to you? This is while I'm in cuffs. He's like, "Yeah, I know, man. You look like a nice guy. I always see you out here. I support you. I understand what you're doing. But like, was this necessary?" And I was like, "Yeah, it was." See, there's a difference when a brown man has to defend himself. There's a lot of mud there. But Rachel, my neighbor next door, no problem if she's got some guns. No problem at all. Oh, she wants to defend her son and her dog. It's no issue. But this shade and darker, oh, it becomes an issue.
Yeah.
And even him as an African American, for some reason, he has an issue. Why? So what happens? He takes me to the jail. They open up the security gates. I go in. He asks again. He goes, "When are you going to stop?" He's walking me like this. "When are you going to stop?" I asked him, "Is that what Martin Luther King and Malcolm X would say if they were here?" You know what he said?
What?
He goes, "You're right."
Wow. Shout out to him. We won't say his name, but shout out to him. So has he bothered you since, or have you not run into him at all?
I mean, I see him on the streets, I see a lot of them. Some of them are kind and they're nice and they wave at me or whatever. Or they'll say, "I understand why you're out here," But the reality is they do have a problem with me being out there. And you could see it in the footage and all of my footage. They have a problem with me being out there.
Yeah. And the guy that you pepper sprayed, is that the one where he stole your flag and ran away with it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Essentially what happened, this part is not on video, but the street lights have cameras on them that actually got the video. And my lawyer was very happy about that. What happens when I walk on the crosswalk, I usually stop so that people can read my shirt. Let's say you're the driver. I will stand and face you so you could read my shirt while I'm walking on the crosswalk this way or this way. Yeah. So I'll face you. And that's what happened. I do that all the time. And that's what happened in this situation. I do that on purpose so everyone in their cars can read the shirt. Slightly kills children. As I'm doing that, facing them, he comes back running this way. So originally he leaves on the crosswalk this way. I'm now facing him this way. He comes and attacks me this way. So as I'm waving the flag, he jumps, grabs the flag. He pulls so hard that he falls into the middle of the street. Then I ended up going after him and I said, "Give me back my flag," whatever. And then I pepper sprayed him and I got him twice, really good in the face, the mouth, the eyes. He was screaming. And when the police came, he was crying. And the paramedics came. They were all with him for like 30 minutes.
But why would they arrest you if it's technically self-defense?
That's the problem, right? If I were a white man, totally different story.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It would have been a totally different story completely.
And did you end up beating that specific case?
I'm currently in it. I have another maybe hearing on middle of April. We take everything to trial pretty much, me and my lawyer.
Okay.
Yeah, we take it to trial on purpose to expose the latest crimes in the courtrooms.
Yeah. And how are you feeling when you're on the streets? What's going through your mind? I mean, it takes a lot of courage. I mean, we have to be real here. And you're a busy guy too. You're a CEO and you do all this on top of it. But what's going through your mind and your heart as you're on the streets?
That it's an obligation. It's a must. When I first started, I made a prayer to God and I said, "If you helped Moses just touch the water with his staff and you split the sea for him, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to dedicate this all to you, Ya Allah. This is all for you, God. I will simply take a flag. I'm going to go to the side of the street and you do with it what you want. You want one person to see me? Fantastic. You want 1 million? Fantastic." This is the same prayer I make all the time now. And people would just come swarming. And so what goes through my mind is it's an obligation. I'm doing it for God. I'm doing it for the people of Palestine. The reason I say I do it for God, I do it for Allah, is because in Islam, Allah says to us that if there is injustice anywhere, we have an obligation to stop it with our hands. And if we cannot, this is a hadith from the Prophet ﷺ, you have to stop it with your mouth, the injustice. And then if you cannot, with your heart. And if you do it with your heart, that's the weakest of them all. So there is an Islamic obligation that I cannot sit quietly by, whether it's Palestinian or not. I have to be speaking up. And so, you hit the streets, and obviously you're going to have the anxiety or the worry or the fear. There's a lot going on. Go back to your effing country. You're a terrorist. You're a child of this, woman that. All of the names you could think of, people throwing water bottles at you, people approaching you and you don't know if they intend you harm or not, people trying to hit you with their car. There's a lot that happens. I hope I have that courage to do well in what I'm doing. I'd like to think that I do, but I am human, and I do face situations where, it's like, this is really tough, and you really think, you're like, man, this is really trying.
I'm assuming, I don't want to go in to dig deep into your family, but I'm assuming it impacts your family too. I mean, they're constantly worried about you.
Yeah, there are family meetings that happen where I'm discussing something with either my wife or my mother, or even at the time with the executives of the healthcare company. And I explained to them that I have been arrested and I am protesting and I'm going to keep going. And there's a Holocaust in Palestine. So there are discussions that happen with the family when I'm going to push what I'm going to do next. I do let them into my sort of circle, but all of them have given me the support and the freedom. Even my mother and my wife talk about this, that we don't want to clip his wings, is something they keep saying between each other. So there's an immense amount of support. You could even see my wife in one of the videos, multiple videos. She's so proud as I'm getting out of prison or jail.
Wallahi, babe, there is no greater honor in the world than to sit in a jail cell for Palestine. There is no greater honor, wahyat Allah. And we're gonna do it over and over and over again until we break this enemy and we get Palestine back.
100%.
Wallahi, that's my word.
Yes, my love.
I love you, babe.
So what did I come out of you?
Yeah. I
And
gotta
my
say, it's fascinating with you because you're sort of the perfect person to do this, because you're a film major and you know how to get the right angles of everything that's happening. There's a bit of theatrics there too, right? As you're coming out of that jail one time, you're like, I'm so happy. This is an honor. This is a blessing. It's powerful.
Yeah, I'd like to think that Allah put all those things in my life to lead to this moment. I don't think there's anything more important in my life.
Yeah, no, for sure.
No.
And the other two videos that pop up in my head right now is the one where I think some lady was waiting in line and you came up, she took a picture of you.
So I was actually sitting down journaling at a coffee shop, and she kept taking pictures of me and my shirt to show she's kind of watching me. Typical supremacist behavior. Oh, you're watching me, right? And those people, man, they crumble when you face them. The problem is, a lot of times, especially us Arab and Muslims and Palestinians, oh my God, man, we are been such cowards for so long. Like, I don't want to get involved. So I got up right away. I walked to the cashier. I said, listen, that lady's recording me. Because she's recording me, I have a right to record. You understand? They said, yes, of course. Boom, pulled out the camera and I got my footage. So what are you doing? Why are you recording? Why are you taking pictures of me? Right away, she buckled. Because Jesus loves you. Jesus, he loves the Israelis. They love worshiping the Jewish supremacists. That's what they love. Oh, the Jews. This is how they are all the time. Yeah. Right away, she buckled. So if Jesus was a Palestinian, they would have murdered him in a heartbeat. She freaked out and she left. This is our enemy. Our enemy is weak. But many of us don't stand up to our enemy. So we never know.
Yeah. What were you journaling, out of curiosity?
Well, after that, I started journaling about her. I'm like, she ruined my day. Wallah, I'm trying to enjoy my cappuccino. I usually journal about either world events, my feelings, reflections, a book that I'm reading. I journal daily, like in a leather-bound journal. I just write about my life, my experiences, my perception of things.
Yeah. I don't think people fully appreciate the depth of you, generally speaking. They see this figure on their Instagram page or whatever it is, and oh, he's wild. What's he doing? He's crazy, whatever words they want to use. But here you are on the other side of the street journaling right after. I mean, that's fascinating.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I like to read a lot. My greatest, I guess, inspiration outside of the Prophet, Muhammad, peace be upon him, and maybe family, is Michelangelo from the Renaissance, because of his incredible work ethic. I read a lot about Greek philosophy. It's a book I'm reading right now called The Courage to be Disliked. I try to, gather from people much smarter and much wiser than myself about the right way to live life, I guess, the right way to see things. And it helps. It becomes kind of like an armor and a sword in your arsenal as you take on the world or this enemy.
Did you write a chapter in that book out of curiosity?
What do you mean?
Because courage, right? Courage to be disliked. I mean, you're right.
You. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It can be hard sometimes, right? It can be. I'm learning. I do have a mentor myself, and that is something he advises me on. Yeah, you're going to be disliked, and you just got to deal with it. Focus on your core values and your vision. Adler, the psychologist, the courage to be disliked is based off of his psychology, is that yes, when someone is trying to bring you into a power struggle in the sense of like talking bad about you, gossiping about you, spreading rumors about you, it's a trap. They're inviting you to a power struggle. So the moment you start having to explain yourself too much in a defensive mode, you fall into that trap. So what you're supposed to do is go back to your core values and your vision. What are you trying to achieve? And what I'm trying to achieve is Palestinian liberation and exposing America and Israel. So,
yeah. Do you think that I'm going to say Muslim and Arab community, do you think that they fall into that trap just altogether?
Yeah, sometimes people will get like, it's human nature. Let's use an example. Let's say that there is a pro-Palestinian that wants to write a book. So a bunch of people start saying, oh, look at you, you're a grifter. You want to write a book on the Palestinians, right? Oh, you have a podcast, you're a grifter, right? So, okay, well, you have two options. You either can sit there explaining to them, but we have to make the podcast and well, we have to write books to spread awareness, right? You could sit there and do that. Or you can completely ignore them and say, my focus is Palestinian liberation and to expose American Israel for its crimes. Those are your two options.
Yep.
Right. And so a lot of people, it's human nature, will fall into explaining, oh, I swear to God, I only made $17.
Yeah.
People will never be happy. If you're always looking for the pleasure of people, they will never be happy.
Yeah. Speaking of never being happy, I really just have to understand, I mean, you're a CEO of an organization. I'm assuming you have a board. You're getting arrested and you're on Canary mission and you're being attacked constantly. First of all, shout out to your company for standing by you. I guess you're the CEO, so you're the shot caller a little bit here too. But how does that even work? Not many people can sustain a job while doing what you're doing. Yeah, you're doing it as a CEO. How's that possible?
So it has to be done with a calculated effort, not through a chaotic effort. My position comes with an executive assistant who I actually sat down and had this conversation with in the same way that I, had a conversation with my mother or my wife. I actually had a conversation with my executive assistant and I said, this is what's going on. She knows, she sees the crimes of Israel. I told her, I understand the responsibility I have in my career and as a CEO. And so the reality is I can't stop. So we need to be able to talk to the executive team about this. And so we kind of talked through it. What are you going to say? How are you going to explain it? What are you going to say about the arrest? How long should the meeting be? All of this.
Yeah.
And so I met with all of them and I let them know that I have been arrested, that I will be arrested again, that there's a Holocaust in Palestine, that this is an obligation. These are my people, but I would do it for any people. And what kind of person would I be working in healthcare or any field for that matter and just staying silent while they kill women and children? So everyone they were nice, but not adamantly supportive. They were not like, you go get them, Tiger. You got this. We stand by you. We know what it means to be a man in a war. None of that. It's like, okay, yeah, we understand. Very, again, apathetic. This is what I repeat many times, and I would have no problem saying this to them too. The problem in America is most people, the majority, the vast majority are apathetic. They couldn't care if you dropped 400 million bombs on all the Muslim countries. You cannot wait on the Americans to wake up. They will never. They have The Rock and Taylor Swift and Lady Gaga with her new album and football and then basketball and then half golf, half jumping, half sitting. This is what they like. They eat and they watch circus and food. So you cannot wait on them. They're all apathetic. So even the executives, oh, okay, very nice. Yeah, okay, we understand. Well, okay, that's That's it.
Yeah.
Weak, very weak. So, yeah.
What about just your general employee population? I mean, they have to see their CEO doing this. I assume many are saying, wow, this is badass. I want to work for this guy. I mean,
Some get scared. Some
Yeah.
quit. Some are talking behind the scenes and like, oh my God, he's amazing. He's so cool. Wow, heroic. And other people are scared. I'm scared for my job. I have children. I have whatever. And then they end up quitting, or they end up talking to Dr. Imran, who I work with, is one of the executives. He's a doctor, and he put his license on the line. And he would take a lot of the employees to the side, executives or not, and tell them, hey, listen, what Resistance is doing, what Saiaf is doing is necessary. I support him. I'm 100% with him. This is a Holocaust. And he himself would go to protests, and he would want to get arrested. And I was the one holding him back because he's a physician. And so I did get that support from him too. But I started to learn about these conversations that are happening behind the scenes. Some people, of course, see it as heroic. Some people are scared. Some people quit because they're like, I don't want my children caught up in this. And that's okay. That's their right.
Yeah. Has anybody from that executive team maybe taken you to the side and said, hey, man, I'm with you. I stand by you? Or maybe you don't want to answer that question, but I got to think, if I'm in the room, like, yeah.
One of them. Yeah, one of them.
One of them?
Outside of the assistant, outside of my executive assistant. Yeah, one of them. My executive assistant would actually show up to protests, and she would tell me where to go. She was, yeah, great.
Kudos to your assistant.
Thank you.
Yeah. She deserves a raise, a bonus.
She does.
Yeah. So how do you pivot, though, from Resistance is Beautiful to being a CEO? I mean, it is a mind shift completely. How are you able to do that?
Yeah. It does take some discipline, you know? Imagine you switch over and suddenly you're dealing with, okay, this insurance company has this issue, this patient needs this employee or team member is facing this issue, and you have to really be there for them and fully mentally present. It can be very challenging. 2024 was probably the hardest year of my life because seeing my people bombed to death constantly and then having to go into these meetings, you know, it was very difficult mentally. You know, like, oh, food is being cut off, water, they're being bombed to death. All these bombs are being dropped on them. There's nothing left there. And then you're in a meeting talking about some new insurance policy or SOP that needs to be created, a standard operating procedure, or yeah, it can be very, it's like there's no playbook to it, right? Like the human mind is not meant to handle a Holocaust.
Yeah.
Right. We're not meant to see this many dead children. Like you know, and so I do make some time for myself. I, you know, read, write, spend time with my wife, my family, my friends, whether it's the gym or hiking or taking a drive or walking around my neighborhood. Like I mentioned earlier, I do like reading and writing a lot. Watch TV, watch something fun. I do try and do those things to be mentally okay to handle this enemy for the long run. This enemy is relentless, you know? And so to keep up, you have to be sort of balanced.
But you're also making time to serve as a mentor as well.
Yeah.
How are you making time for yourself to do that? I mean, people don't realize coaching and mentoring, it takes a piece of you every time. How are you able to do that?
Okay, so I can't share my screen. I can show you my calendar just really quick to give you an example. So here's my calendar, okay? And in my calendar, it's color coded. So yellow would be for morning routine and gym, and then green is for self-care, journaling, writing, reading, cleaning the house, things like this. Blue and blueberry are work or meetings, you know, and then back to green at the end. And so that's how all of my months have been, you know, scheduled. So I have a schedule that varies in color, as you could see. So what I do in my method is every Sunday, I use that as my foundation day, every Sunday. So I get my gym bags ready, vitamins and minerals, protein. I get everything ready to be able to go to the gym at any time. I charge all of my laptops for work and everything that I need to have ready. My briefcase, my bags, everything is ready on Sunday. I clean the house. I do whatever I can to make Sunday as a foundation day. And one item on my Sunday is to look over the calendar for the week. So I use Sunday as a foundation day. I look over the calendar. Does anything need to be adjusted? Am I not making time for something? You see? And then I continue with the week.
Yeah. I got to ask this. What gym do you go to now? I mean,
you might have to see in the next video. I'll tell you, EOS.
Okay. And what happened at the other gym, if you'd like to explain it to the audience?
I was a member there for 3 years, as I mentioned in the video, and then I was arrested for wearing this shirt here. Israel kills children. In Greek philosophy, and just like in Islamic philosophy, the idea is that wherever you are being taken, you need to be at peace with it because there's a reason. In Arabic, this is rida. You have rida with Allah. You are accepting of whatever Allah puts you through. So some people, when they don't accept, they reject it, they get angry. So God might be like, I'm bringing you into this room to walk through this door. So you see it as a sign.
Yep.
If you choose not to see it as a sign, you'll be offended. What? Me? Why am I being arrested? What? I can't believe it. Who do they think they are? So sometimes it's about really accepting the wisdom. And this is in Greek philosophy and Islamic philosophy, accepting the wisdom that can come from a situation. So if you notice, I smile when I got arrested because wherever I'm going next is where I'm meant to be. So what happens? I go to EOS and I tell them, hi, I have just been arrested at Lifetime Fitness for wearing this shirt here. Can I wear it here? And do you have room for one more? And they said, absolutely. Let's get you signed up. I said, fantastic. Now, when I got signed up, brother, everyone comes up to me at that gym. I love your shirt. Hey, what's that shirt? Hey, can I talk to you? Constantly. Was I meant to move to this other gym to spread awareness there? And now I kind of also, I'm a little bit more forceful about it. So let's say we're sitting in the sauna the other day. Someone goes, this sauna is really nice. I say, it's a lot nicer than the Lifetime Fitness sauna. Say, oh, really? I'll say, yeah, by the way, do you know that I was kicked out of that gym and arrested for wearing this shirt? They say, what? Really? Then everyone in the sauna is listening. I repeat this over and over and over again. So that door that I'm being taken to, when I step into it, I don't know what's on the other side. It might be dark on the other side. I am usually very confident that it's where I'm meant to be.
Yeah. No, that's a phenomenal way of looking at it. I got to ask for the audience as well, where do we get the shirt? I think at this point, we should ask that.
I have a website called patrolbunnies.com.
Is that legit? That's a legit one? Okay.
It's called patrolbunnies.com. And yeah, man, it's really dark humor and it's just wild. I don't know if you ever noticed on my stories, I call a lot of my followers bunnies. I say, go get them, bunnies.
That's amazing. Speaking of mentoring, there are going to be people listening to this episode. They're going to want to ask you, well, how do I make an impact? I'm in my first year of a new job right out of college, or I'm in my 5th year and now I'm about to have a child, but what's happening in Palestine is bothering me. What do I do? What's your guidance and coaching for those individuals?
It's a good question. So whatever we're doing right now, it is working. We are exposing America and Israel, and they are on the defensive. You could see that they're panicking. Scott Ritter even said at one point, referencing Iran, that if he were Iran, he would just sit back and watch this whole thing collapse. You know, I mean, wow. Like, right? We can all agree on that. It's working. It's not working maybe in the speed that we want it to work. We're all human and a little impatient, right? So we want things to go faster. So my advice would be this: whatever you are doing, keep doing it, increase the pressure slightly. Talk to people about Jewish supremacy, Israel's crimes, why Palestinians need liberation. And you could see the data that came out yesterday that support for Israel is at the lowest in 25 years. It's going down. It's not trending upwards. We just got to keep doing it. Now, it's okay to take breaks. Maybe there's a mom who just had a child or whatever. Okay, take breaks. Come back when you can. Post on social media or join a protest when you can. Even if it's a new mom, let's say, she could still boycott McDonald's and Starbucks and Coca-Cola and any companies that support Israel in any way. So you can really choose when to take your breaks, mental breaks, right? And then when to come back on and when to increase pressure. So just know that we are winning. Take it nice, slow, but you do need to increase pressure. That means if you haven't been hitting the streets, it's time to hit the streets. Because just 2 days ago, they cut off electricity to Gaza. So you can't also be on the side of like complete complacency. You do got to say, what is something I haven't been doing that I could do? You know what? Instead of boycotting 5 companies, I'm going to download Disoccupied, the app, and start boycotting more. I haven't really donated that much money. I'm going to donate more. Like this. There has to be an increase.
Yeah. So they don't necessarily have to get arrested.
Yeah, not everyone can afford that.
Yeah.
Not everyone can afford that. Yeah. Do what you can within your own limits. So there are 2 doctors that have been wanting to get arrested, very close friends of mine, that I advise not to. But I do advise them on other things to do, and they do it. So there's a time and place for everything.
Yeah.
You have to use your wisdom of your context of your situation. And then there are times where, if you can get arrested and you can do civil disobedience, great, do it.
Well, I mean, I think at this point, we're going to get arrested just for existing, as you can see.
Oh, exactly. I love that, brother. Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, look at what's happening at Columbia, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you still arranging die-ins and things like of that nature at the malls?
So it wasn't me who sort of set it up, but I would attend whatever I was invited to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. And you would just bring more attention, obviously, to it, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Whatever they would give me, I would take advantage of, But if it was someone else's event, I would respect them and wait for them to say, hey, resistance, we need you to say X, Y, and Z, or we need you to speak on the microphone or whatever. I would wait for them to sort of approach me. I wouldn't want to come off as trying to take over,
Are you going to be putting together any events or anything that people maybe who are in Arizona or want to fly out to Arizona to participate in with you?
So my mentor has been telling me to do an event in Chicago or Michigan and to invite a bunch of people, maybe sell tickets or something. And essentially what he wants is that you essentially start assigning tasks to people at the event for the movement. Like who's going to take this on? Who's going to take this on? Like an actual task-oriented movement, which I think is fascinating. And he's the one who's pushing me to write a book, actually, and called Resistance is Beautiful. So I take my mentor's advice very seriously, and I have been thinking about it. So maybe Chicago, maybe Michigan.
Why not Arizona? Just curious.
I feel like Chicago and Michigan might have a larger turnout, more impactful.
I don't know. We could do it near Columbia.
So that would be nice.
Yeah.
That would be perfect.
So you're obviously an extremely deep thinker and extremely reflective. You mentioned earlier apathy is a major issue that we're facing right now. What's the root cause of that?
When you have ease of access and you're spoiled with endless food here in America and endless entertainment. I mean, dude, Netflix spent how many hundreds of billions of dollars on their shows? Hundreds of billions, and you could buy it for $9. Hulu, Amazon Prime. You can get any food to your house in the snap of a finger. That's it. So when the belly is full, right, and you're spoiled and you're not really challenging yourself or really reflecting on what matters in the world, it becomes easy for the Americans and the Israelis to kill all these Arabs.
But the apathy is within the Arab community too, if we're going to be honest.
Yeah, well, 100%. Very apathetic. And they fall into that same trap. In Arabic, in the Quran, it's called mata' al-ghurur. It is like the desires of this world, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, Taylor Swift. She's on a stage and there's so many people. And the food, you should see our supermarkets, man. Endless. My mother was telling me the other day, endless cheese, non-stop bread. It's just all as much food and entertainment as you want. The moment one Hulu show is done, Amazon Video is back. The moment that's done, Apple TV releases a new thing. It doesn't stop. And you think that the CIA or the government doesn't have a hand in that? Mark Zuckerberg said that the US government called me and told me what I can and cannot say about COVID. So does the government tell you what you cannot say about Palestine? I believe the government is absolutely involved in the circus and in the food and what can and cannot be said. I believe they have direct contact with all the media networks. I believe that CNN, Fox, MSNBC, all of this are direct arms of the US government. Without question.
Which is why it's important to have our own media, like a podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And kudos to you for doing this. Thank you for doing this. So when you have all of this, right, it's sort of curated to keep someone in it, not 100% prosperous, just starving, not dying, starving enough, right? 50% of Americans cannot handle a $1,000 emergency. So just, you're about to die, but you can't, I can't really stand up for the kids that are being killed, but Taylor Swift's new album.
Yeah.
Right? That's where it is, right there. You know? So you got to be able to break through that and say, hey, I'm done with this shit. What are you doing? And you wake up.
But how do you get them to break through? How do you get them to wake up?
So right now, I don't know if you've been following me recently. I have been increasing the pressure on my followers recently that if they are not posting about Palestine, the Holocaust in Palestine, or hitting the streets, that I will be blocking them. So this morning, I've been texting a bunch of my followers. Hey, like, I don't care what your opinion is, how you feel. I'm looking at your account. Why is your account private? Why?
Yeah.
And if it's private for safety reasons, I need you to send me a picture that you are hitting the streets with a flag. And if you don't, I'm blocking you. Sometimes that's what you need. You need to be shaken up. Hey, wake up. You're in a trance. Wake up. You say, oh my God, what's going on? I'm sorry. Hulu took over my life. Yeah, wake up. People are being killed. There's a guy I saw at the gym. He came to talk to me about my shirt. Big dude. He looks like the Hulk, tatted up and everything. I support you, whatever you need. I'm ready to go and hit the streets with you. I told him, let me ask you something, brother. What's the point of coming to the gym, listening to podcasts, reading books, pumping iron? What's the point if we can't stand up for women and children being bombed to death? He looks at me. He's like, dude, I'm your fucking soldier. That's what he told me. I said, okay, I got his number. I said, I'll be contacting you when we hit the streets. Right? So, yeah, man, apathy comes from us being spoiled. We have so many comforts, so we become apathetic. You don't have to chase your food. You don't have to do anything.
Is it spoiled or is it greed as well? Or is it both maybe?
Maybe a little bit of both. In America, there's always like this shiny, distant object. I want to become filthy rich and have all these cars and have all this thing. And then by the end of it, you've barely had any of it. It's just a trick.
Yeah.
You know, there's that. Like, it's just America's so competitive and whatever, but like none of that matters, man. None of that matters, you know? Allah says in the Quran, you're going to keep gathering and gathering and gathering items and stuff until you visit the grave. And then it's just you in the white shroud and a bunch of dirt that goes down your throat.
Yeah.
So if you're going to live a life, make it count. Stand up for something. Feel good about it. Feel good that when you're older and you look back and say, I stood for something that actually meant something.
Yeah. You said earlier on in the conversation that I don't know if it was your exact words, but given up on society or given up on this country.
Yeah.
Can you unpack that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So I no longer believe that they're going to wake up from this trance. Obviously, I'm trying with the stuff that I do on social media, but I have a small following. It's not like that immense, but yeah, this country's completely lost. The Jewish supremacists have completely bought out all of our politicians. You look at trackapac.com, you could see every single politician is bought out. And the Americans don't care. What percentage of Americans actually did something about the Holocaust in Palestine? What percent? 1%?
If that, yeah.
If we would be like, wow, that's generous. Imagine 1% after all of that, after a Holocaust. That's it. They're dominated. Their media. Name me a real actor that has spoken. Maybe you could speak of one actor, maybe two actors that came out and spoke. What about The Rock, Taylor Swift, Ryan Gosling? All of them were ready for Ukraine, right?
And they were ready after October 7th, The Rock specifically too. Yeah.
Of course, right? But they're dominated. So yeah, this country is completely, I believe that we will start to see the fall of the American empire. They earned it, and they earned Trump. And I love that they have Trump, by the way. Just want to throw that in there. I used to be Democratic. I want to vote for Biden and all that bullshit. I fell for all of it. It's all bullshit. They have Trump, and I'm happy they have Trump. This is his man. And so someone goes, are you saying, it's a collective punishment? I said, well, 99% were dead silent when the Palestinians were being bombed to death. So you earned Trump. He's yours. He's perfect for you. You are made for each other. Enjoy everything. Enjoy everything that he does.
Yeah. For everybody listening, Donald Trump did not sponsor this episode. Just want to be very clear about that.
And keep up the good work, Donald. Keep it up. Show the true face of America.
Right on. Just really quick on Canary Mission. How are you notified? How does that whole process work? Because this is like the number one fear of specifically college students, but it's really not working anymore because they're just adding everybody on there.
Which is phenomenal. Yeah, it's wonderful. So my advice to people would be this. If you are afraid, to try to break through that fear, right? Create your own business, work multiple jobs if you have to, It's all better than living in fear and to live with chains around your neck. It's better to have multiple jobs or to struggle to make a living than to live rich with chains around your neck.
Yep.
So remember that. That's number one. Number two, I think somebody told me, and they're like, oh, do you know that you're on Canary Mission? I was like, finally. I was like, what took them so long? And when I said that, they died laughing. They were like, what, are you crazy? You know? And it's like, excellent. I've been wanting to get on for a long time. What took them so long? Yeah, the more of us that can get on there, the better over time. But if someone genuinely fears that their entire career could be ruined, they do not need to be on there. They can wear a mask when they protest, avoid getting doxxed. They can focus on boycotting, spreading awareness, making their profile public, spreading awareness through social media, writing blogs, books. Great. There's other ways to do it. So, by the way, not one thing is better than another.
Yep.
Right? The person who writes a book is not better than the person who has a podcast or a person who gets arrested or a person who's on the streets. We are all needed in this. We are all equally needed.
Yep. We all have a role to play here at the end of the day. Yeah.
Yes.
So last two questions for you. And I wanted to ask you this earlier, but I'm going to ask it now. If you could just go back to your younger self, think about that 14-year-old kid or 15-year-old kid, what would you tell yourself? What message would you give to that younger version of you?
I would say, hey, it's me from the future. I know this is crazy.
I have a website called Bunnies.
Bunnies. I would probably tell myself that you're going to come to realize in your 30s that everything in the Quran was correct. All of the stuff that you were, I don't know why, how come you're doubting, it will all crystallize and it will all be 100% correct. The Americans will continue to murder your people. And you need to step into a role where you can make sure that stops and that your people can have freedom and liberation. That includes the Iraqis, the Palestinians, the Lebanese. We're all one people. The Yemenis, we're all one people. I would have told myself that. They're going to keep killing your people as you get older and older, and they won't stop. No voting for any American politician will stop that. It won't stop. You need to take this very seriously, and you need to get involved from a young age, or else more of your people are going to die.
It's a powerful message. And then my last question for you is, there are two groups of people when they see you on their screen. One group, and I don't mean the Zionists or the haters, I just mean our people, okay? Palestinian community specifically. Wow, we love what he's doing. It's awesome. It's amazing. And then you have another group. I don't know. That's a bit too much for me. That's, over the top kind of thing. What is the message for them? And what do you want them to know about you?
Sure. So for the people who think that it's over the top, my question would be to you is this. Is it over the top, or do you believe that there might be a little bit of jealousy and envy that you yourself are not the one going out?
Ooh.
Ask yourself that. Why would you consider what I'm doing over the top? I am wearing a shirt. You would have no problem with a white man wearing a shirt, would you? What about me? Why do you have a problem with me wearing a shirt? I'm wearing a shirt like this, working out at a gym for 3 years. Am I being abrasive? The judge defended me. The judge looked at the prosecutor and said, so you arrested him for wearing a shirt. And he said, no, Your Honor, we arrested him for disturbing the peace and for causing a ruckus.
What's up, man? Can you not record? Why? What's going on? You don't have an active membership, so we gotta ask you to leave.
You asked me to leave. Why don't I have an active? I just paid for my membership. What are you talking about?
No, somebody from corporate. Can you not put that in my face? Go ahead. Well, the cops are on their way, so what's the issue? You don't have an active membership.
I paid for my membership. I've been here for 3 years.
Membership's not active.
What's the issue? Is there an issue?
What's the issue? Can you not record me?
Tell me, what's the issue?
Can you not record me?
What's the issue?
I already told you what the issue was. Your membership's not active.
My membership's not active. Why isn't it active? Clarify for me. I'm not sure.
Did you scan into the club?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Your team let me in.
No. What I'm telling you is that your membership is not active. So we call the police because you're trespassing. You're in the club because the membership's not active.
Is the problem the shirt? Or is it the skin color?
You just don't have an active membership. So right now you're trespassing because you're in the club without an active membership.
You know where there's no more gyms left? In Palestine, because you guys bombed them all. So I thought, maybe I come here, get a good workout in, I've been a member here for 3 years. Payment goes through every month.
Are you offended by the shirt or by the fact that you guys kill all of the Palestinians in the gyms over there?
Your membership isn't active. We got to ask you to leave.
Is the problem the shirt?
Your membership's not active. We got to ask you to leave at this point.
All right, I'm gonna have you hang out here while I do my workout.
Cops are on their way, so just wanna let you know.
Hey officers, that was quick.
Gonna sit down for me?
Sure, all right. How you guys doing?
Good. So what's going on today, man?
So there's the Holocaust in Palestine. Israel has killed 300,000.
I'm not talking about that. I'm asking what happened with staff today. Did they ask you to leave?
So one person checked me in. Another lady told me you have to take off that shirt. And I said, well, I don't really think I have to take off the shirt. So I came up here and the manager said, either you leave or we're gonna call the police. And I said, you know, you're angry about that, but there's no more gyms left in Palestine. You guys bombed all of them.
Okay, but they asked you to leave, correct?
Yeah, he told me he's gonna call the police.
All right. Did they talk to you before about this?
No, they've always said that, like, oh, that shirt is offensive, or, you know, it's typical Gilbert white supremacy stuff, you know?
Okay. All right. So at this point, obviously, you're trespassing. You know that, right? All right. So you are going to be arrested for trespassing, okay? Place your hands behind your back.
Sounds good. Should I put the phone down here?
Yeah.
Oh, you want to hit stop on that really quick?
Go ahead.
All right. Free Palestine.
So the judge says, I'm looking at the police report and it mentions no such thing. He looks at me, Mr. Abdallah, was that the shirt that you were wearing? I said, yes, Your Honor. He says, so it looks like you did arrest him for wearing a shirt. So my question to my audience, and then the judge released me with no bail. He said,
Wait,
you can leave.
really quick, did you wear the shirt to court?
Well, I was in jail.
Oh, I thought maybe they released you and you went back.
Yeah, you go,
Okay.
yeah, and you go from jail cell directly to court in cuffs.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And so my question to he's too much. What is too much? Really, this is that question what is too much? Is it too much that they bombed all of our fucking hospitals? So do I need your permission on how I protest too? So the Israelis can own me and then the pro-Palestinian community has to own me too? So I need the pro-Palestinians' permission on how I should protest? I'm wearing a shirt while I'm working out or while I'm at a coffee shop and a woman's taking pictures of me. Am I the one being abrasive? This is our people, my friend. A lot of our people are like this. Dominated for so long that they are used to the boot that pushes against their fucking face. They're used to it.
Yep.
But what I recommend is you say, thank you for doing what you're doing. I want to do it too. Message me and I will tell you how to do it. Because we don't have time to sit and wonder, oh, why? Is he being a little bit harsh or not harsh enough? It doesn't matter. They bombed all of your hospitals. They killed all of your mothers. All of your children are gone. Wake up, pick up a fucking flag and hit the streets. Stand for something.
Right on. I can't think of a better way to end the interview. My brother, I appreciate it. I know you're extremely busy, wearing multiple hats. Thank you so much for spending time with me today.
Thank you, brother. You're amazing. This was a great podcast. Your questions were fantastic. And thank you for having me.
For the record, I could have gone another hour, but I'm being nice. Just for the record. So we're going to have to do a part 2 here, just to be clear.
You know, if you'll invite me, I'll come.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thank you so much.
Listen, stay tuned, cause it's time for some mood.